All right, well, we'll get started, and those that maybe they'll catch up when if they come on or something like that. All right, so how did you all feel about the exercise today? Are we ready for the 21st of October?
I thought it was very useful, and we definitely learned some things at the friendly group. It was good to do it, and I think we're more ready.
All right, cool. Anyone else have any comments? Jerry, you're muted, Jerry, and Gary as well, and muted.
I also had the protective cover over the camera.
Oh, okay.
I think there's too much information.
Too much information.
Yeah. I can see why the police officers use 10 codes and things like that. Maybe we can discuss that. And it takes a long time to transmit the information on these forms. If we just standardized on something like a 10 code, I think we could really cut down on a lot of this information. That's my feeling.
Well, I appreciate your feeling, but I can tell you we're not going to go to a 10 code. So no, we won't go there. And actually FEMA even says in their training for communications, emergency communications, that we do not use 10 codes. So they want the plain like we did today. That's what they want. Yes, it will take longer, but yeah, they don't want 10 codes. Then you got to require everybody to learn and comprehend and understand what each of the 10 codes are. And there are a slew of 10 codes. There's not just like 10.4 or 10.10 or 10.15. There are hundreds of 10 codes. So and trying to get everybody to understand and correctly do a 213 and then plus have them do 10 codes. No. And then you got to have somebody to break down, well, what does this 10 code mean? And research that and then put that back into plain language. But anyway, thanks for your feelings.
I wasn't suggesting we use the same ones as the police officers do. Just something in our groups, like we came up with the message header and something like that. Because then we get in spelling, and it just is going to be a long haul, is my 2 cents.
I have a suggestion connected to that. My suggestion is that people practice writing concise messages is the first thing. And then the second thing is, if you're the person doing the initial relay, if there's something unclear or you feel it's just way too verbose, put it back to the sender and say, could you please summarize that because it's too long, as a training thing, feedback thing.
And also, to be accurate, brief, and concise. So that's the ABCs to use with sending a 213 is to be accurate, brief, and concise. And just like Craig was saying, if it's too wordy, we can work with that to cut down the wordiness from the sender, but not lose the subject, basically what it is. So yes.
Yeah, what I was telling people is, if you're the relay, don't edit anything. You're supposed to send exactly what's on the paper, but if you feel what's on the paper isn't good, push it back to the source.
Yeah. Okay. And that all,
they're the originator. They're the one that signed it as original. So I don't think we should reword it for them.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct. We should not reword. We're just relays, but yeah, you're right. And I think Craig, that with time and training, people will get into the habit of actually rewording things concise and being brief in what they're saying. Yes.
But feel free to give feedback. I think people should have some feedback on that stuff if it doesn't seem good.
Right. And that all falls down on the radio team leader that starts the 213 rolling. And so that's where that begins with. So, yep. Good points. Anybody else have comments for today?
Susan and I have our hands up.
No, okay. Go ahead. We'll start with Thea first, then we'll go to Susan.
I'm sure all of us know this, but different agencies have different TIN codes. Even different police agencies have different ones. There's just a ton of them out there when you
Yeah,
talk about TIN codes. So that's why FEMA doesn't want to do that. And I really like Craig's suggestion. It was very frustrating today. I think this is my first actual DAT exercise. To hear how things could have been condensed better, even my own. And I have a question about whether or not you need to say no casualties seen or no one observed or something like that. Is that really needed if you really don't know?
well, it may be good information to pass along, I guess. Would it be taking up more airtime by saying that, or would that be beneficial to the EOC to know that, okay, they're all good to go at that address, they just got the building's going to burn down, but people will be fine. I don't know. It's
Yeah, without doing, interior, you don't know, like with I had a building wall fall outward, and so I could see there was nobody inside, but there could have been, somebody underneath the wall on the outside. I didn't know.
Oh, I was thinking that you were saying that all the residents were outside and accounted for. Okay, that's what I thought. Maybe that's what you were talking about.
I don't think we know that as a DAT. We haven't really no information on that.
Well, yeah, if you don't have anybody outside of the building, then I wouldn't say that. You don't know. You have no clue on that.
Thank you.
Susan.
Yeah, just pretty much the same thing that you were saying, Andy, and Thea was saying but there was one report that came in, house off foundation, and then the next sentence was house is off foundation. And to me, that was redundant, and saying that once would have been adequate. And that's, I know repeating the exact message is one thing, but I just think it was a redundant comment, and the amount of time needed for that. But I really liked how everyone was going through the blocks. That was really helpful for me, writing down the transmissions for getting things in a concise manner, since these are going to be passed on to someone else to review or to share with emergency services to make things happen. So I love how everybody did that.
Right. Thank you. And along those lines, when well, I can't say anyways, I got a blur thing, I guess, but when sending the general message, the blocks that you guys will be sending will be blocks 2 through 8. So that's what you'll be sending all the time. And if you look on the back of if you have a blank 213 message on the back that has the directions, block 2 says, the name of position, then it says instructions. In our applications, all of our messages are going to the EOC. We don't know who at the EOC is the emergency manager. It doesn't really matter. That's why we don't need it, because it says instruction. You have to put a name, or at least the first initial and the last name. Well, we don't know who that way may be. But for that block 2, EOC would suffice. But in block 3, we should put down, make sure that we, like it says in the instruction, enter the name and position of the individual sending the general message. That's the originator. So they want either the first last name or at least the first initial and last name, and then followed by like DAT2, of whatever street that the DAT2 is part of, as a radio team leader for DAT2 or so, these messages are coming from the radio team leaders of each of the DATs, not from the damage assessment team itself. It's coming from the radio team leader for that DAT. They're the ones that are actually generating the 213 on that. Block 4 in the 4, it says a subject, and if you used if you downloaded the 213 off of the Eugene EmComm.org page, you'll notice in the instructions says enter the subject of the message, and then it has addition to that message number identifier, and then a slash with an address with a slash. What is it? Question mark. So that goes in the subject 4, and of course, block 5, block 6, and then block 7 is the message. And in our case, we called on pretty good. We were at first we forgot to say this is an exercise, but we did catch on. We did catch ourselves, so that was good. And then in the message, like Jerry was saying, we try to and Craig, we cut down on the wordiness, but keep kind of like have the message, hopefully that it will be in kind of like bullet forms, maybe 4 lines at the most, or 3, 4, 5 lines, 5 at the max, if unless it's really bad. And then of course block 8 will be you, because you are sending that message, the going on up the string. Now I have a question for you. You've received a message from all right, we'll say net control. You've received a message from a neighborhood ham, and you filled out the 213, and you've verified that all the information that you got from your neighborhood ham from blocks 2 through 7 is correct. So now you have this entered on a 213. On block 1 at the far right hand corner, what message number goes in there, or whose message number goes in there? Anybody?
Well, your examples I thought were very helpful for that. There's a lot of ways it could be done, but your example, you showed pretty clearly that the message number is for the net control that's sending it on to the next stage.
Correct. And so that message number, it will be transcribed in the log as on the far left-hand side of your radio log on the line that you transmit out of, correct?
Yeah, and then the other point to mention connected to that is on this number line box 4, the subject, you'll leave any message number there as the original.
Yes.
So we can all tie it together again.
Yes, I wanted to make sure that that was clear. Thanks, Craig. Yeah, so you'll have a message that have 2 totally different message numbers. One for the at the top right is the one that corresponds to the one that you're sending out, which is your message number, and the subject line is the originator's subject number, so that the EOC can go back to, if they need to reply in block 9 and send back down the line, which they are going to do October 21st. The EOC is going to request clarification on a message the 21st of October. So they will probably come back and they'll say, need more information about, we'll say, CR2 Foxtrot Alpha 001/123 Spruce / apartment building fire. And then and that will go down in block 9. So make sure if you're a net control or a radio operator, you do not write anything in block 9 or scribble anything in block 9. If you need to put a whatever type of a priority on the message, you can put a big E or a big P or a big R in the top left-hand corner of the message. And big bold, so it signifies if it's emergency, priority, or routine. But try to avoid writing anything in block 9, because if in October 21st, somebody is be getting a reply from the EOC.
So let's talk a little about how that whole response thing works. We haven't really dealt with that much. So the EOC has a question about a message. As a net control operator, I should have that message sitting in my out pile. So
Yes.
if they say I have a reply to message number blah blah blah, first thing I do is go dig in my pile and find it, right? So I can write
Right.
on this box 9. Is that what I do?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I
What
say, wait one, I go find the thing, and I'm ready to write in box 9.
Yes, and a scratch pad is good to have, but the UC may come back and they'll say Southeast 2 net control need to verify more information about injuries or residents or something at subject line Sierra 2 Foxtrot Alpha 001. So, you know, that subject line. So then you as a net control, like you said, you know by the identifier, okay, that's coming from friendly area. If you got several piles, if you got a friendly area pile and you got a Whitaker area pile, or you've got downtown area pile, whatever, at least you'll know, okay, it's in the friendly. I go to that pile and I find 001. And so then you'll pull that out and you'll write down in the reply block 9 area, and you'll call down to whoever is the relay for the that friendly area, and they'll grab their copy and they'll write it down in block 9 and so forth, and I'll go back to the originator. Does that help?
Yeah, so that all makes sense. But now, so they say I need more information about whatever. The question is, and now the new information is coming. Is that a whole new message number, or how does that part work?
That's a good question. I think that would be a whole new message.
But it should probably in the message body box 7, it should probably reference the old message number.
Yes,
or something, I guess.
Yes, it will. Yeah.
Or maybe the subject stays the same, but the message number is different. Or
yeah,
something.
I think the subject will stay the same, but in like you're correct, in block 7, it will reference the reply to or whatever the message on that.
So Andy, your examples of the different relay stages are really helpful as far as showing what stayed the same and what's different. Maybe you can cook up some examples of a reply to help us lay that out in front of us. One other comment on the examples while I'm got the screen here. The examples are very helpful, but your message prefixes were as confusing as hell.
The which ones?
Your message prefixes. None of those matched up the official list they're supposed to use, so that was a little weird.
Wait a minute, let me see if I can follow you, Craig.
In your examples, you had these 4-character prefixes on the message numbers.
Okay, I got you.
And none of those matched anything on our list, so that was a little weird.
That is yes. That's because that is what Northeast District is using. So the prefix on the messages that we've used for the example, which is coming from the Dale Avenue damage assessment team. Yeah. We've gone through we wanted to identify that damage assessment team.
So at the team level, that's fine. But if you look in your example for the one that went to the EOC from the district, shouldn't that somewhere say NECY or NEGI or something like that?
On block 4?
On message? No, on the message ID. The message number.
On block 1?
The block 1 message number.
Block 1.
Seems like one of those 4 Northeast neighbor things should be there at some point in the relay chain. I never noticed that.
Block 1 will always have the message identifier of the person sending the 213.
Right, but you change those as you go through the relay steps, right?
Yes.
And none of them ever matched up with any of these things on our official list. So that's the part that seemed a little weird.
Yes, because the official list is basically showing the districts and neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But per the example that I sent, it breaks down to where we have gone beyond just the neighborhoods. We've looked
Okay,
at-
I guess we got an instruction that said, here's the official prefixes
Yeah,
and use them,
Yeah.
but then the example didn't use them. So that was the part, you know, it was a little confusing. So
yeah. Because when we looked at that, and we said, okay, for example, for Cal Young neighborhood for the Northeast District, Cal Young neighborhood has 3 damage assessment teams. So if it would be confusing if each of those teams had November, November Echo, Charlie Yankee,
yeah, yeah. At the low level, yeah. But if you look
Yeah.
at your relay thing, you use 3 different prefixes at the different stages of the relay, and that's fine.
Yeah,
But they never did match up with this list.
yeah.
that
No,
was the part that
they're not
seemed odd.
they're not gonna match up with the list that is on Eugene EmComm.org
Well,
page.
but you said to use these prefixes, so that's my confusion.
Yes, and that is something that we will practice on as we go further.
I was trying to find the example here to
Right. You
Anyway.
for friendly you would have a S2 and what is prefix for friendly, FA?
yeah,
yes.
S2FA.
Yeah, so S2FA would be the prefix for the friendly area,
When
friendly neighborhood net control.
for the message I send to Gary, I should use that prefix.
For the friendly area, friendly neighborhood net control. But
Yeah.
for the damage assessment teams, they would be FA. Let me look at this one.
No, that part's fine, and
Yeah.
that's where I really liked your examples that you sent out, where you showed the different relay
Yeah.
stages and how those changed, and that's all
Yeah.
good.
Oh, okay.
It's just at the last stage, where it's going from the neighborhood to the district. I would expect to see one of these things from this official list at that level,
Oh, I got you.
and there wasn't.
Well, it's a work in progress. We're
Okay,
working.
but so maybe it's okay if it did follow the list, but you just didn't in your example.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I can accept that answer. I'm
Okay.
good with that.
Well, we got
Thanks.
Matt and Gary. Who was first? Matt?
Gary was also had his hand up a long time.
I don't know which
Jerry.
one. Gary, go ahead, Gary.
So this is way back earlier where we were talking about general impressions. I thought it was a great exercise. Going into it, I had to read a lot of stuff and analyze the log example and the message examples and see how they all tie together. And that all made sense to me. And so I felt fairly comfortable assigning S2MC001 and so on to my general messages, the ones that I'm sending out. And I think the subject line worked great, S2FA001 and so on.
And let's talk another, I'm gonna finish the Zoom and then I'll talk to you another time.
That's Judy.
Now she's muted.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then how the log was really interesting because I wasn't I see how the times are offset. We get a message in and then we send it out, get a message in, send it out. Now I got 7 messages from Fan, and ideally I would have recorded each one of those with a time, and then when I send it on to the EOC, they would have separate lines going out. And I didn't quite get that far, but I think that's how it's all supposed to work. So it's like the end product of all this exercise is this paperwork. We have ICS 213s and we have this 309, and I know it can go a lot farther than that, but as far as the ham communication part goes, that's what we need. I figured it out, and it would have been nice, I think, if we could have had a Zoom the day before or something. But you know, everybody's always too busy and all that. So so I feel good going into October. And yeah, we learned a lot here. Joanna was my scribe, and of course, in real life, she's not going to have time because you'll be getting messages from Megan, and luckily she can just hand them off to me, so they'll actually have two message IDs on them. One Joanna's message ID, and then my message ID when she hands it to me. So yeah, overall, I thought it was a great exercise, and this new numbering system with the prefixes and the numbers, that worked great. And the fact that that follows all the way through, and the fact that we're sending a message from the disaster assessment team to the EOC, that's the way it should be. We're just passing messages at the ham level, and yeah, so I'm enjoying hearing what other people had to say and so on. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. On your message log, on the left-hand side where it says message ID, that is, you only put in your message ID. Do not put your receive ID in there, because then it's going to get totally confused. So when you receive messages from either Whitaker ham or the friendly ham, that block will be blank. And then, like you said before, you'll put your receive time, and then who it's from. It will be either S2FA for sector for number 2, Southeast 2, and SA, or SE, Southeast 2, NC. And then also you'll have blanks there. I'm sorry, let me I should have silenced my phone. One moment, please. I apologize.
We'll be getting messages from Friendly and from Whitaker.
Right. So that message ID column would be blank. But when you send out to the EOC, that's where you put in your message ID number to show you sent a message, and then the time you sent it. And of course, it's going to, then the from block will be empty, and the 2 will be EOC. And then of course the subject line will match the subject line of the message that you receive from either Whitaker or the friendly area. Does that make sense?
Well, if I get a message, if Megan sends a message to Joanna and she writes it down, should I make a copy of that with my own numbers on it? I mean, or should I just add my number to hers?
No, Megan should have her own ID number.
No, I'm not talking about Megan. I'm talking about Joanna to me.
Joanna, she should have her own ID. If
Obviously.
Yeah, if she is operating as the Southeast 2, as friendly.
But Gary, you're not asking about the ID, you're asking about physically recopying the message. Is that what you're asking?
Well, that's my concern, but let me just describe it a little better. Joanna will be S2W net control, because she'll be getting messages from Megan, and then I will be S2NC, so it is EOC. So anyway, when she hands me the 213, you're saying I should make a copy of that with my own number on it.
When you send it out.
Can I say how we did it that worked easier than that?
Sure, Fred.
So the FRS, GMRS net control operator and the scribe copied down a 213 form. Then they handed it over to Janelle, who was running the ham station, and she took that same piece of paper and just right above where the message ID was, she wrote her message ID, and right above where they had the approved by, she wrote her approved by. So it's all same piece of paper, we just added some stuff to it.
That makes sense. Now, I will obviously be writing down messages from Friendly, but when Joanna's sitting right next to me, I would prefer to just add my number to her number and my name to her name. Then make a complete copy with possible errors.
Well, remember now that when after a major event, whether it's a fire or whatever, and then FEMA is involved, FEMA's going to collect all the paperwork, and just like anything else government agency, they always like to see the paper trail.
Right.
So they want to follow the paper trail from going from the bottom all the way up and from the top all the way back down. Doesn't match, or is there any paper missing? And so you have to watch that. That's why, yeah, it may be more work, but Joanna should have her pile of 213s to give in, showing that she had she has sent messages that she received from Whitaker.
Right.
And then Gary, you've got your pile of messages that you sent to the EOC, and they should all bounce.
Right. So in Craig's example, he'd have stuff from the assessment team, the team leader, and then he would have stuff, he'd have another form, a copy of the original with his own ID and so on.
Right.
As net control for fan, and then I would have a copy with my ID and so on. Well, if things get cramped up, then I'll probably just stick one of these on with my my ID when I send it out, and then we'll create a copy later.
They can fall off though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just write it on there with a pencil.
Yeah. Okay. I understand where we want to be in the end, but in the heat of the moment, I might just use hers.
Okay. Awesome. All right. I think Matt's next, and then we'll go to Chris. And then I saw Thea's hand up, but she took
No,
it.
excuse me. I think Chris was next before Matt.
No, Matt was here. I think he was up. He was with Gary for a while.
Okay.
Good, Matt.
Okay, so what if you don't have a message number box? I've got two versions of the ICS form. One of them has a message number, and one of them has no room for the message number.
Yeah, we're using the download the one that's on the Eugene EmComm.org page and throw away all the other ones.
I got the other ones directly from FEMA. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, we're using we've kind of made a augmentation to the form that will work for us.
Could you guys please put a date and revision when you change forms? That would be way helpful.
Okay, and the other thing that's really bugging me, it's really bugging me, is that the districts, we've made the same mistake here that Jerry and I did when we ran our simulation back at the Irving Grange, which is the districts need to have 2 persons, bare minimum, and 2 radios, bare minimum.
You're correct. Yep.
Because, yeah, you listening on one radio channel and talking on the other radio channel, all while writing things down or reading something, just isn't feasible.
Right. Yes, that is a problem, and that's something that I've been talking about for a long time, to try to go out and recruit volunteers to help you, especially for net controls.
Yes.
To get other people to come in and help. Remember, as ham radio operators, people can use your ham radio long as you're in the room. So if you have an HT handy talkie radio, and then you have another radio, you could have the non-ham maybe use one of the radios. They could maybe be the one that communicates to your district neighborhood hams. And then that way you could talk to the EOC or vice versa or something like that. But yes, you definitely going to need try to recruit volunteers to help, especially recorders, because if you're trying to work 2 radios at the same time, plus write down the 213 message, plus do log entries, you're setting yourself up to make an error somewhere. So, and also, if you're copying things and you miss something, go back and say, repeat all after whatever the last thing you heard. So yes, on that. But thanks, Matt. Let me go to Chris next.
Hi, Andy. So I've got a question on the 213.
Uh-huh.
So box 1 and box 4. Let's say my first message comes in and I'm going to call it NE2-001. Why would I need to reduplicate that on line 4, like you had suggested, to start off line 4? Why wouldn't it be the same and I wouldn't have to do that?
Okay, so for you as being a ham radio operator, your NE2-001 will not go on block 4.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out.
Yeah, because block 4 should show the message identifier from the damage assessment team, which you're working with Dale, and that should be NEDA 001 or whatever.
Okay, that makes sense now. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. And we had Thea. Did you have a question? If not, we'll go to Gary.
Negative. Thank you, Gary. Next.
So in October, Joanna has a suggestion: remind people to speak more slowly when sending messages.
Yes.
Because you have to pretend you're writing it as you're saying it. That way you'll know how long it takes.
Yeah.
So in October, what'll happen, hopefully it won't be too cold outside, because this is what usually happens is Joanna sits out on the porch with her FRS radio and waits for Megan. And Megan is about almost a mile away, but so far we've been successful. We have one of those old FRS radios that works pretty well. Anyway, so she's sitting out on the porch, right, filling out these 213s from Megan, and then she takes a break periodically and brings them in to me. And yeah, I guess the hardest part is connecting. You know, we can't tell when someone else is available and when they're not on the radio. And if each one of us is listening to 2 things, the nice thing is that Joanna's here, so the Whitaker messages come on in a form of paper for me, which is nice. But I could ask Joanna to go ahead and fill out my copy as well. In other words, she'd be the net control for Whitaker, but she'd also be my scribe for the Whitaker messages.
Right. Well, hopefully, Gary, that we can get some help with the Whitaker. We have a ham radio operator that's wants to come in, and I'm going to try to get with him to bring him up to speed of what his role would be, because he's not quite sure. His name is Sean Bowles, and his call sign is KJ7HJL, and he lives on Adams Street in the Whitaker area. And so I want to work with him to where he could be a neighborhood ham, and maybe he could take Megan's traffic, and then he would call you, and maybe Joanna, she could be the S2 net control, that she could talk to the Whitaker and also friendly area hams, and then pass, like you said, pass the 213 over to you, and then you could relay it onto the EOC. Maybe
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, that might work. Now last year, Sean helped Megan. He's he's kind of in between Megan and us, but yeah, so he just went over there and that's how he learned about this whole thing.
right. So he's eager to learn, and so I'm going to try to get with him just to let him know what his role would be as a neighborhood ham, and then also encourage him to come on the Wednesday night net, so to get experience with the radio and talking and things like that.
Right.
And so that's a goal. So anyway, on
Okay.
that.
Yeah, so anyway, we have a plan,
Okay.
but it'll take a long time as it did last year.
Well, I want to give props out to Matt Alberson. Matt Alberson did a great job in transmitting the messages. He was very slow, very accurate in his enunciation as he was saying the messages, and he caught on after about the second message. He was saying line 2, and then he finally got to using block 2, block 3. But yep, he did good. And then we all kind of remembered to say this is an exercise, and then end with this is an exercise. So that took a while to get to that. One thing that I noticed that's and that's going to take time as well, and I failed to do that. We're using our tactical call signs, but we have to remember, I think, at the period of our transmission, when we say like Southeast 2, Southeast 2, this is EOC out, I should say come back and say Kilo Julia 7 Julia Delta November, and I failed to do that. So, and it's something that's a learning thing that I have to do. Same thing for Matt or anybody, any of the districts or anybody using hams. When you finish with your message, say you finish with block 8. You could say northwest net control out, and then KJ7 what is your call, CNL or whatever it is. It's a learning thing, but I think it helps. But anyway, just my comments. I have not been able to talk and keep up with the chat stuff on the right. So is there anything that I need to answer on the chat?
Yeah, there's a comment down here that Thea made, which we were getting interference on our FRS channel. So we had to move to our alternate channel.
Awesome. How
because
did that
Cal
go?
Young, like there's one person with a hell of a transmitter in Cal Young, and we could hear them. We couldn't hear who they're talking to. We could hear them like crazy.
Really? I bet I know who it was. I bet it was Bob, because Bob's got a GMRS radio. And Bob Shepard, he's a ham, and he's been trying to get his communication up with Lariat Drive. And they've been trying to work that out to get the messages. So I bet he must have a strong.
Well, we had to move to our alternate channel to be able to do things.
So what channel now, Judy? What channel is your FRS? I can't hear you. You're muted.
So I was on channel 6, Zero Eliminator, and Bob does have this GMRS radio that probably is very clear.
So Craig, are you guys on 6 as well?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
Normally we just get interference from the nursing home here.
Well, that's an interesting find of development there. So
we ran into that a couple years ago. We had an exercise where we're walking around doing things on foot, and we had interference from another neighborhood during that too.
Well, that, that's, and possibly if it hits the fan, it's gonna be like that. And it was meant to be in the Northeast. I said, well, if you have interference, go to alternate, but just don't say over the air what your alternate channel is, because then everybody else is gonna go there too. Yes, Thea, go
Excuse
ahead.
me, Andy, we had to go on the air because we had people at home and other places that we expected to be able to participate in our exercise, at least to check in, and we had to tell them, and we only had a chance to do it once, that we were changing to channel 20, alternate channel. And so
Oh.
that was quite a discouragement for us, because we've been on channel 6 monthly for our regular exercises, and that's what we expected to use. But I think Bob may have been on high power instead of low power, and
Yeah.
GMRS should be on low power for neighborhood
Yeah.
activities. So I
Yeah.
hope that message gets across to him if that was part of the issue. And
Yeah.
on the other hand, the GMRS, range between neighborhoods is kind of exciting in that way. So pluses and minuses. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah,
Certainly.
Bob is located at the Oakway Golf Course area. That's his location, but
Is he up on the hill there?
no, he's down in a little bowl.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So, excuse me, this is Judy. So because it wasn't working, Bob actually went to the Cal Young Oakway church area where there's a coffee shop there. So he was not that far down the road from me.
Mm,
He was using, because we need a ham here, that we can't get to him at his house.
yeah, so Thea's probably right. He probably had it on high power, I bet. So, okay. So we'll have to work that out. Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've had that problem in previous exercises too, when we get the multiple neighborhoods activated.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no interface between GMRS and ham. That doesn't compute.
Well, the people have to interface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as what
Yeah.
Judy was saying. Thank you.
Yeah, Gary.
So last year we ran into interference on our main channel. We switched to the backup, and I think we started hearing the northwest. And so we couldn't use our backup because it was the same as
Are
northwest.
you talking FRS or ham?
FRS, yeah.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Anyway, it's just something to know.
So the dilemma there is, within the neighborhood, you want to be reliable from any point in the neighborhood. So that's what you need for communication. But for the interference thing, the best place in one neighborhood might hit the best place in another neighborhood, which is another whole propagation thing altogether.
Well, within the neighborhood, between neighborhood teams, they should be on half watts. But
Yeah.
going from the neighborhood, from the, I guess, the neighborhood radio team leader going to a ham, they're the ones that need to go to a 2-watt, because we don't know where the neighborhood ham is going to be located. So they got to be able to communicate.
Right. So the EOC operates on what you would call a pull system.
Yes.
You occasionally get on there and you say northeast, southeast, it's to whatever.
Yeah.
Well, within, I guess we could go to a pull system on the net control. The net control could occasionally pull, and that's what we ended up doing today. Because I was on talking to the EOC for a long time, and I switched back to 446.050, and I asked Fan if they had any messages.
Yeah, and that, like someone mentioned earlier, you can't tell when you're listening, or we can't tell when you're listening. So Janelle tried several times to call you,
right,
but you were busy doing other things, and then
right,
got back to us at some point.
Yeah, so it would be awfully convenient if it worked the other way, if it was a push system, but reality is that none of us are always available.
Right.
Someday we will use a text-based system instead of voice, and life will be simple.
Yeah, then it would be asynchronous. It's the synchronicity that's the problem. If we can go just like an email or a text, you send it off, as long as you hear back from them within 24 hours, you're okay.
A text-based interface do we need to talk about WinLink?
No, no,
Not today.
not today.
Like give us a couple years to get something put in place.
So today, I started off to mimic what EOC is going to do on the 21st, is where they're going to come on as net control, and they're going to do, as Gary said, they're going to poll. They're going to go through each of the districts, and they're going to poll. I'll take your emergency traffic now if you have it. You don't have any, they're going to go to the next district. But they're going to run into the same problem as we had today, because you guys, you can't talk and listen on, you can't listen on two frequencies at the same time. You don't have it. Unless you got an additional radio sitting somewhere and have one radio on one freak and one radio on the other freak so that you can monitor two. So as today, I changed that up. I said, instead of going through the polling, what I did was, okay, when I was able to get in touch with a net control of a district, I just asked, do you have any traffic for me at this time? Instead of, going that way. So, and then Chris has his hand up as well.
All right, so on form ICS 205, and we're looking at 441.575, it doesn't show a tone. Do we have 100 hertz tone for 441.575?
No, it is simplex.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And maybe that was our problem today, because the program that Matt has it at 100 hertz.
Yeah, I think Matt's programming thing that he uses has caused problems before. It's caused problems with the Kimwoods at the Northeast District Net as well. If for some reason he's got an error in the programming.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. All right, any other comments? Nikki didn't say anything. Nikki, you got any comments? And Nikki, who are you with?
No, thank you. I was just part of the fan exercise today. I just wanted to learn more by coming here.
Oh, awesome. Well, you're welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Hey, Andy, I'll do my duty and pass on a thing that one of our team suggested, although I don't personally agree with it. On your, they have a note on your ICS 213 numbering system that lists all the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And they suggest that she should include each neighborhood's primary FRS channel. Well, I'd rather keep the channels and the abbreviations on two separate pieces of paper myself, but that was their input.
I agree with you, Craig. The FRS channels should go on the 205 if you're going to use it. The ICS 205 is the one where you list all your frequencies and channels that you.
Yeah, I think that's the right place. Then you just have one thing to change.
Yes, you're correct.
I do have one comment about the document, with apologies to Gary, on the numbering system. It says XXX is a serial number beginning with 0. So I'm a software guy, so I do all my computer stuff where I begin with 0. When I talk to humans, I start with 1.
Well, what we got there with the 3-digit three X's there following the identifier, that gives that station 999 messages.
Did anyone make a message that started with 000 today?
Yeah.
No. Okay, so maybe we want to edit the document to say start with 1. Just it's a detail.
No, I got you. Yeah. Well, yeah. You started with 000, Judy?
I was just doing, I think I'm talking about something different, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Start with all our numbers start with 00 and then 1.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
I see. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Well, Northeast did have a little bit of problem. And so we gotta iron that out. And to see get that fixed. The Northeast District radio was not functioning properly, so we had some problems there. We'll have to get fixed, and then as Chris was talking about with his radio as well, and then Bob Shepard. I think Bob and Chris have the same radio, so we got to figure that out well as well, because indeed, if you got comms, that's why it's so important that net controls and neighborhood radio team leaders before an exercise make sure that you can talk to one another before the clang of the bell to start the exercise. So that is so important, to make sure that you can talk to your damage assessment teams from your radio team leaders. Radio team leaders can communicate with their neighborhood hams, and neighborhood hams can communicate with the district net controls. So important that that is all done, done good, everything's good to go before exercise starts. And so we got a problem in the Northeast we got to figure out. Yes, Thea.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to compliment you on all your EOC work. I, as a ham, even though I was in a DAT, I had an earpiece going to your channel, and it was really interesting hearing how our messages ended up through to you. And also, I want to say that even though the example asked for last names, we in FAN, when we started our team, we promised we would not be identifying people on the air. And we had one person who included their last name, but I encouraged others to just use first name. So I was glad to hear first name and first initial might be okay rather than including last names, because with us, we knew we were all away from home and you know, on the reservoir. And so that's just a safety procedure in case they're, you know, in a real disaster, there could be looting or something, not to include your last name. And that's just my
Well, the block 3 says, it says at least the first initial and last name. That's identifies the radio team leader of the person that's sending the message. It's not giving their address.
Well, still, it's pretty easy to find a Rumpelstiltskin in a certain area of town or something. There, you know, last names aren't always that common. So I just had an issue with including that.
Well, it makes it kind of
if you've got your identifier as DAT Team 2 RO or whatever, then that might suffice anyway.
Well, anyway, that's well, that's something I guess we can talk about. Maybe that's something, Thea, bring that up when we do the Zoom with the city after the 21st.
Okay, it's a small town. A lot of people know where people live.
I understand what you're saying. So that's something that the city of Eugene can, maybe they've got an idea on that. So Gary, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, just repeat kind of what you said. Don't put your own message ID on the form until you're ready to send it.
Yes.
That way, because like I had 7 messages, I went ahead and put my number on all of them, 1 through 7.
But they didn't go out that way.
No. Well, if I radioed them in, I would have used those numbers, even though they were out of order. I mean, even though there were gaps. But so basically at the district net control level, we assign a priority, and and then if we send it, we put an ID on it, and then that goes. So basically, when you write it on the communication log, you assign the ID. And before that, you don't have an ID for message. I have 7 messages here. 3 of them might have IDs because I sent them on, but the others, in theory, wouldn't have IDs on them. They would just have the subject line ID, which is fine.
Right. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. I saw that Mike just had something in the chat. And something what I did, Mike, as well, when I got home, I didn't do it on the 213 that's on the Eugene EmComm website, but my copy that I did here, and I was going to talk to you about, but in the instructions for block 3, I made a bold and italicized the example for where it says message number / and so forth, that area. I kind of did that so that it stands out as what goes into the that block 4, block 4, of the subject line. That makes sense? Did I do that right? Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments?
One last thing.
Yes.
I think our group did a nice job with learning more things, and they produced 7 pretty decent messages, but the turnout from the neighborhood was pretty low. So I don't know if that's just the, time of year or whatever, but
No, I don't think it's a time of year. It's that way all over. I got a message, or not a message, but an email from a person up the McKenzie River area. And it seems like they're having problems as well for volunteers and ham radio operators. They have ham radio operators, but they're not wanting to participate and trying to get some kind of a communication link of outlying cities to Lane County, EOC. It's that way all over. So I don't know. Everybody will come out of the woodworks when it does hit the fan.
yeah.
But the problem with that will be, like I mentioned Thursday night, it'll be a chaos because everybody will be running around screaming and shouting, and everybody will be wanting to get their 2 cents in. But it'll be like when a street light goes out on a 4-way stop or 5-way stop. Next thing you know, you're going to have a car accident. People are going to get hurt. And it'd be the same way with comms, because they haven't practiced with the system. They don't know how it goes. And so it's going to cause more problem than anything. Thea.
Yes, thank you. I was going to mention the low turnout too, Craig. Friendly areas had, 14 to 20 at the 3 or 4 prior exercises. And we got down to 7 in the actual DATs in addition to the 4. So at net control and scribing. So it was a lot less this time, despite, our best efforts to get it out. So I think having the drill information out earlier should help. And I'd like to request that any revisions or updates to that be added as an amendment so that we can continue to use that original October 21st exercise timeline and not get confused on anything that might be changing before then. Just
Hopefully,
add an amendment to, and of course the Zoom link will be changed probably as well at some point.
well, yeah, no.
The Zoom link should remain consistent.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, great, Mike. Thank you. Good thinking.
And and I trust Mike will keep me in line and keep me straight on all these things. I have a hard time.
We have permission to share the Zoom recording when it's available with everybody that at least participated and maybe those that didn't.
You know what I forgot today? I forgot to mention at the very beginning for everybody to take pictures. So we could put on the EugeneEmComm.org and also the CERT website. I forgot that. But
Well,
anyway.
so we have pictures. Deb Jones, that does the friendly newsletters,
Yeah,
took a bunch of pictures. So we have some pictures
Okay,
from our area.
if you would and maybe get with Mike and we can get those on the EugeneEmComm.org page. And also if you could send them to Tracy Bear.
Yeah,
So
she's probably got a bunch. So maybe we'll let her, sort out 2 or 3 good ones or something.
Yeah, so that we could get it out to the public that we are doing something. I have a question for you all, and this was came to my mind after Thursday night that we have with the community. And the question is, would it be beneficial to schedule a class at Second and Chambers for radio team leaders and net controls to have training on filling out 213s and radio logs?
I vote yes.
So yeah.
Yes.
And kind of hammer out all these message prefixes so everybody has kind of a system we understand and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just the radio team leaders and the ham, and it would not be just a CERT thing, it would be everybody that's involved.
Well, I have an issue with that in that we're trying very hard to cross train. We've been
Uh-huh.
relying on the same people for almost 3 years to do net controls and be team leaders, and
Right.
it's quite a hard burden. Today we were able to change that up a bit thanks to Craig's preparations and assistance to let others step in at the mic.
Okay.
But we really need to do that. We have, I don't know that we actually have a radio team leader in FAN right now, yeah, formally. And so there's an issue with that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the key thing was like, so that we would all be doing the same thing and understanding the 213 and radio logs. So I was thinking, well, maybe have a class on that for those folks that would be using those two forms.
Or I think, like I believe Gary mentioned, maybe do a Zoom before the exercise so we can ask our questions about if we don't understand the example or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Well, I have to get with the Zoom man, Mike. Well, we have to figure out when do we want to have the Zoom? How many days? A day before, or 2 days before, or how? I can't hear you, Jerry.
1 week.
Have it a week prior to have the Zoom prior, 1 week prior.
Or Wednesday after EmComm net, maybe.
And throw the question out, is it easier for people to do the Zoom? What do they prefer? Do they prefer the fire station or Zoom? I don't know.
Well, the only thing with the Zoom, I don't know how to go over the logs and 213 on Zoom.
So you got to share your screen with a document. Yeah,
Okay.
Mike's got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can share.
Yeah, that's I can set you up to be the host, Andy, and then you are able to share your screen so that everybody can see the forms. We can actually move them up and down and go in. So that's definitely a doable thing.
So that would be better than, okay, awesome. Okay.
So the exercise is when towards the end of October.
It's 21st.
Okay, so the 21st is a Saturday. How about Wednesday before that at the normal EmComm net time, we do a Zoom?
Yeah, that could work.
That would be nice because it would kind of tie the two together. I think it would really help people to understand this is all the same thing.
Okay, so the key thing would be how would we, well, there's more than likely somebody's going to be on the net, that EmComm net, and want to know what's going on.
Yeah, I can keep my radio on and tell them to go to Zoom.
Okay.
Check their email.
Yeah. Okay.
And actually, I can tell them to go to eugeneemcomm.org, and there's a link. There's what, Mike? Is there going to be a link there to the Zoom? Maybe we'll put it up just for the meeting, and then we'll take it down afterwards.
Yeah, we could do that. As you're probably aware, it's not a good idea to keep them up on a website, but we could put it up that evening. And just a thought, we might do like a 5-minute, not a full net, but just somebody, whoever's turn it is, wake up, do a 5-minute explanation of what we're doing. I can put the link up that night and take it down after the thing is over.
Yeah, that would work. So we'll go ahead and have our net like normal, just a 5-minute net, and tell everybody to go to eugeneemcomm.org and click on the link. And it can even be on the sub page.
We won't even have to go around to each districts, just, quick 30.
Right.
Yeah, Jerry.
The one thing we have to be careful about is please remember there's another net on at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So if we're going to do this, let's make sure we can cut it at the 1 hour.
Oh, definitely. We won't be on there for more than 5 minutes, hopefully.
Well, I was thinking this is a great opportunity to go through that response query thing that's going to be added that we haven't actually done.
I have to work on that, correct?
Yeah, that's a good reason to have a session to go through that, because that's a whole new thing for us.
Okay, I'll have to do some homework on that. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything missing in the chat that?
Andy, you might be able to actually start out with a clip from one of your prior DAT trainings that was recorded, if that's available, to go over some of the basics before we get into the weeds. It's just a thought.
For the Wednesday prior to the exercise?
Yeah. during that Zoom, somebody could put up a video of your prior training, so you wouldn't have to go over all of that to begin with.
Do we have that, Mike? I don't know if we got that or not.
And that's I don't know. I can take a look on there and see if there's one of those that's up on the site. I know we've got quite a few training things on the page that we've added over the last 2 years, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'll look for that.
I don't know. Right? That's a good idea. Thanks, Thea. Susan, I'm sorry. You have a question?
Well, it's about whatever we're getting, the messages that are coming in from the assessment teams. They're looking at a picture, but it's interesting that when we're receiving these messages from the ham radio operator, there's a inconsistency in what is a priority and what is an emergency, and not even getting some of the messages. But is there a training on how to look at something and then document it in a clear, concise way without redundancy? And is that something we could go over at some point with people who are volunteers with damage assessment, or, I'm just not sure what the training is for that. I've gone online and tried to do it, and it was very convoluted.
I think, we could start from the beginning, from the damage assessment all the way up, just run it all the way up through to EOC, and we could each talk about what we do and how we do it and what forms and all that.
Well, I was thinking after Thursday night, in addition to having a class of working with the radio team leaders and hams dealing with the message logs and the ICS 213s, to have another class to just do training on with damage assessment teams.
That would be great. That would be awesome.
Damage assessment teams within Eugene, and also invite the city of Springfield will be gearing up soon, having their damage assessment teams as well, and they will soon be setting up a EmComm networks modeling ours as well soon. So maybe, and I was thinking of having a class training for damage assessment teams with Eugene and Springfield. But I have to get with Jim Bell and get with Catherine. It'd probably be next year, because this year's calendar is already full. Excuse me.
That would be great.
It'd be something that we would have to schedule and put on the calendar to do.
Because if you think about it, we're all technically, before we even get to our role with our radios, we're going to be doing our own damage assessment of our homes and our neighbors before we get on task with that whole radio process. So we'll be possibly even filling out our own forms to then pass on. So any clarification I could get would be awesome.
Yes, you are correct, Susan. Yes, we will be doing. Yes, Thea.
Well, as a former journalist and headline writer, page layout person for many years, newspapers, getting ABC, accurate, brief, and concise, is a real art form that takes a lot of training and a lot of use and practice before you can actually, abbreviate to where it makes sense and that kind of thing. So, individual teams could probably do more to train their own teams, but I just wanted to put that out there that we can't expect a lot of conciseness from volunteers readily available. So thank you.
You're right, Thea, and that was the thinking of the training that I wanted to do with the logs and the 213 was I was just going to read a wording message, and so everyone would take what I'm saying as a radio team leader or something like that, and then take that information and try to condense it down. And you're right, it takes time, and it just repetition of getting to do it better and better. So yes.
I was kind of hoping today that there might be time to go over some of the messages and see how they could have been condensed. I could see my own problems and how whatever might not have been needed or what could have helped. I use the CERT definition of ABCD wall, which confused
Mhm.
people that were not CERT trained. They could not understand that.
Right.
And so that was my fault.
That's and I was thinking of the same thing as well. And not everybody is CERT trained and they don't have a clue what ABCD means.
Yeah.
So we have to, I guess we have to do things at the lowest level so that there's not, doesn't bring in confusion. It may take longer, but it's less confusing. Yes.
I also heard messages going through like wall fell down. And I was going, which one? West, south, east, north? But also we have to realize people don't know north, south,
Right.
east, west.
Yeah.
They really don't. So yeah.
Well, that's something we could bring in and for the training for the damage assessment teams to train them. Okay, when you look at a house or building at the front, that what you're looking at is A, and train them so that they will know we could train them on the ABCD sides of the building.
I think that would be very helpful
Yeah.
from today's experience. Thank you.
I think Susan had her hand up. Where is
Sorry.
Susan? Did Susan leave?
I think she had a comment that she had to leave.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Is there anything in the chat that I have not been monitoring the chat, so I don't know. Is there anything I need to address in the chat?
Just Susan saying she had to leave.
Oh, okay, all right, thanks.
And the 213 has been updated on the EmComm site with a revision date.
Oh, it has. Okay, thanks, Mike. Thank you. All right,
Hey,
anything else?
Hey, Andy, Deb has posted the pictures that she took already on the fan shared drive. I'll ask her if it's okay to share them just to be sure it's okay with her.
Okay.
And you wanted me to send them to Catherine and to you. Who should I send them to?
No,
Catherine
send them.
Mike or
to Tracy Bear, and she will post.
Tracy Bear. Okay.
She will
Good.
send. She'll post them on the CERT Facebook page, and then
Okay.
and Mike, and then send them to Mike. I guess Mike can post them on the EugeneEmComm.org page. Do we have? Yeah, we got pictures on there.
Yeah, we've got a picture page. So.
Yeah.
Mike,
I can also post them on Facebook, Ready Eugene and Eugene Neighborhood Preparedness Network Facebook page.
Yes, you can post them there.
Mike, could you type your email address into the chat for me?
Will do.
Unless I already have it. I'm not sure if I have it. Probably do.
Just want to say how impressed I was with Andy's EOC traffic. It was really amazing. I had not heard you do anything like that before. Not that I didn't expect it from you, but niner to you.
I'm sorry. That's just 22 years of military communications. That's
right. I told that to my other team members. Yeah.
And Dale damage assessment team, they didn't get to participate, so they're not here. I hope they're not upset with me. It's not what we could do. Nothing we could do. We couldn't communicate.
Who is that, Andy?
Dale, the Dale Avenue damage assessment team.
Oh no.
Yeah, they were ready, but we had communication problems.
So aren't they in Calian?
No, they're in Northeast Neighbors.
Oh, okay.
And the same thing for Judy's crew in Lariette. She couldn't pass her traffic over to Bob because he was having problems. So, So the EOC didn't get any messages at all from the Northeast District.
Well, good to know. Good improvement ahead.
So we got to figure that out. We got to correct that problem. So, all right. If any other questions or comments or something, I appreciate everyone for your participation. And how did, let's see, Northwest, Jerry and Matt, how did you guys do? Pretty well with transmitting your messages and stuff?
Yes, I still don't understand the whole message numbering system. That's a hurdle for me.
Yeah, it's good. That's going to take a little bit of time, but I think once you get once we get the 4 letter identifier down, then we'll be all set. I think you'll be okay. That will be the kicker. The 4 letter identifier, that's where you have to. And for you guys, I made up those 4 letter identifiers because there was I figured, okay, so we've got a DAT team over on, what was it, Westover or something, I don't know what it was, but I said, okay, and then one was on Sedona, okay, so what would be a good abbreviation for Sedona? SD sounds good to me, so, but anyway, that's what I did. Thank you all for your time that you put into this, an effort, I appreciate it very much, and hey, we're getting better. When you look back at the first time we did this, it was like a train wreck. But anyway, so I think it's getting a lot better. And I thank you all for your input and your suggestions and stuff. So, and we'll get it all ironed out. All right. Anything else? If not, you have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you so
Good
much.
job.
Take care
Okay.
all.
Great
Bye.
job.
We'll see y'all. Take care.